Peoples of the world, welcome. It is capital G, first video in a while, and we're going to do ourselves a little Wilds of Eldraine set booster box bust. Well, what a day I've picked to do this. It is September 8th, 2023 when I record this. Not necessarily when I upload it. Might be a day or two later. Could be same day. Not sure yet. All I know is the news had come out this morning about the passing of the creator of the format, Sheldon Menery. Not sure the cause of death is, haven't looked into it yet. I know he's been fighting cancer for a while. I do not know the man personally, never had a chance to meet him, play with him, or what have you. I only know him through his various Star City articles, videos, and some gameplay appearances. But obviously, I've not ever heard a person talk trash about the man. He was clearly a good man. Yes, there was some bickering about rules decisions that he and the other members of the rules committee have made in the past, but that's always up for debate. That's healthy. But the work that he had done in making Commander the format that it is today, it's unparalleled the impact that's had. That's literally given people jobs. It's literally given people friendships, relationships. There have been people literally getting married thanks to meeting through this game. Giving our friends over in the Alphabet Mafia a safe place to play. So, honestly, his impact, even though it's just, sharing his love of a hobby, the love of a game, has had a huge impact, not just on the game, but the people who play it. So, I do respectfully say goodbye to Sheldon. We've not met before. Wish I had the chance to make it out to some of the same events that you were, but perhaps another time in the next stage of the game. On that, let's move on to the box itself. Actually, before the box, I did get my Buy a Box promo. That is an Expel the Interlopers. That's that board wipe where you can choose a number between 0 and 10. Destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen number. So, fun little card that. And I did crack a collector booster that I tried to get on as a TikTok video, but my camera refused to focus after I busted the pack open. I did get the Ristic study out of it, so that is a pretty sweet pull from the new enchantments, or old enchantments as it were. Griffinary is a card I have fond memories of. I was playing Mono White Life Gain on our Magic the Gathering arena during Theros Beyond Death, and Griffinary was a big component of that deck. I love the Full Art Mountains here, of course, and a few good commons and uncommons, including the Tough Cookie. I love what they've done with the with that. And so, with that, let us crack this open and see what is in here. Oh, that's wrapped tight. Good thing I'm at my desk. Just a little pencil poke should do the trick. I swear that was like the toughest wrapping ever. Rawr. Yeah, I know it was a bit of a somber start, but let's have some fun. Here we go. Ooh, Sir Ginger, right in the glory. So, set boosters. So, obviously in here we'll be finding a few of those enchanted tales, at least one per pack. Those are the reprint enchantments, and there are some pretty hot reprints in there. A lot of those reprints, they hadn't been reprinted since the original printing, or maybe like a promo or what have you. And then, of course, the mythics in this set are really, really good. Hoping to pull a few of those. Obviously, we have the list, and there's also the cards that were meant for Jumpstart. They had discontinued Jumpstart, but after developing the cards for this set's Jumpstart set, basically. So instead of releasing them separately, they tossed them in here. So we're seeing all sorts of goodies. Let's crack and let's find out. art cards, of course. I've been actually using art cards as tokens. So I can't really use the ones that are like horizontally aligned like this one. But the vertically aligned ones I've been using as tokens for my Abdel Adrian deck. So having lots of fun with that. Oh, it's all backwards. So I've got my list card right away here. The Initiate of Blood. Coming from OG Kamigawa. This is like the old school flip cards, of course. So when you meet the conditions to flip it, instead of turning the card over, you turn the card this way. So I definitely prefer flipping the card over. This is kind of awkward because once you activate an ability and tap it, it just looks weird. So let's pull right there off the hop. A foiled stab wound. Hey, Season of Growth. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you control, draw a card. Pretty nifty little reprint there. So a couple awesome, just like even just the uncommon Mystic Tales are all pretty sweet. Spellbook Vendor for the rare. This creates those roll tokens. I have to see if I can. I'm really hoping to get all the roll tokens and enough of them because those are going to be very important going forward. This one creates sorcerer roll tokens, which means it creates the enchantment token onto a creature. That creature gets +1/+1 and gives you a scry whenever it attacks. Pretty sweet stuff. Ego Dream for the uncommon. Obira, Dreaming Duelist. Fairy Tribal is back in a big way. Yes, they have the Fairy Tribal Commander decks, but even if you don't use that, like this is perfectly fine as a commander, and it's uncommon, so you can use it in Pauper Commander as well. I've been loving Pauper Commander, by the way. Haven't been able to play too much. It's a much smaller community online, and there's nobody local that's really in for that. Soul Guide Lantern, nice reprint here. But the nice thing about Pauper Commander is that they're the ones who figured out how having a commander with adventure would work long before we had legendary creatures with adventure in this set. So in some ways it was actually ahead of our game. This one's pretty neat. Return a spell to its owner's hand. So if something is uncounterable, like say a Nezahal. Let's say Nezahal, for example. This doesn't counter the spell, it just sends it back to the player's hand. If the spell is not on the stack, it does not resolve. So it's effectively countering without using the word counter. And the fact that this forces people to discard cards makes this a pretty powerful add. So I like it. Some comments here. Up to 2 creatures can't block this turn with the Beta Path. Oh, it's a big hasty creature too, so okay, common. Nothing like, I won't call that great, but it's okay. This I like because this creates a cursed roll token. When you make a cursed roll token on someone, you can choose an opponent's creature and make it base power and toughness 1/1. And after that, it's just a vanilla creature. But just having that sorcerer, your 8/8 is now just the 1/1. Your Darksteel Colossus is just a 1/1. Deal with it. And Aquatic Alchemist to wrap that up. Put an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. But it's 3 mana. It's kind of expensive to do that. But that's actually pretty neat for some lower powered spell slinger strategies. Alright, pack 1 of 32. I hope you're here for the long haul. We're already 10 minutes into the video, so oops. Alright, is that Ruby? I think that's Ruby in the art there. Should tell me in the back here. No, it's Elevere of the Wild Quartz. Rat tokens. These are not as good as the rats I use in my Mad Ratter Pauper deck. Just because these rats cannot block, the Mad Ratter ones can. So throw that token up. Oh! Yes! That is a foil anime artistic study. Okay, I think people are going to stop the video here just because this is not an easy pull to beat. I love that. I'm going to showcase that right over here. A Curiosity Horned Lock Whale. This is a pretty nifty big. Owner of target attacking creature you don't control puts it on the top or bottom of their library. It's also got Flash, it's got Ward 2, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless it's our turn. That's fine. Just a big old blue creature with a nice little instant. I think the instant is more powerful than the creature on the overall. Still pretty sweet. Oh, this is one of the Commander exclusive cards. I don't think these are in the decks, this one. I think it's just in the set boosters. Court of Embreth. When this enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. Yay! Beginning of your upkeep, you get a 3/1 red knight creature token. Then, if you're the Monarch, this deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of creatures you control. Abdel Adrian, you have a new toy, I think. So, for the record, my Abdel Adrian deck, I've switched it around so that it's now got swappable background. So this will go into the version with the red background. I'll do a video showcasing that hopefully soon. We'll see when my next opportunity to record is. It's very, very rare these days. Knight of Droves. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard, create a 1/1 white bird token with flying. That's a nifty little uncommon. I don't know what we can do with that. Cheeky House Mouse. That's just fun to say. Although, I do have one minor problem with this card. It's a mouse, and it's a 2/1. I don't know if you can see that there. Come on, focus. But it is a 2/1. So, this mouse is just as powerful an attacker and a blocker as Savannah Lions, which is this huge cat. Call me petty, but I have a problem with that. Twisted Sewer Witch. This sounds great as a... just the name of this makes it sound like a great Pauper commander. When this enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token. One of these guys. Then for each rat you control, create a Wicked Roll token attached to that rat. Love it. So Wicked Rolls are, enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and when this aura is put into a graveyard, each opponent loses a life. So if the rats die, or you can only control one roll per creature. You can't put a second roll onto a creature where you already have one. If you do, you have to get rid of the first one. So there are ways of getting rid of that and treating that life loss. Gingerbread is back. Yay, that's common. Beside night, create a royal roll. A enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. That's not bad. After that, it's just the Hill Giant, 4 mana, 3/3, but it is a human knight, so it could sneak into some knight decks. Ferocious Werefox. Oh, Werefox? Okay. This creates a monster roll, so you can enchant something with the monster roll, which gives the creature +1/+1 and trample for just 2 mana. That's pretty sweet. This could actually go very nicely in to Vasa the Sunlit, because this is instant speed. So on someone else's turn, you can put the monster roll onto Vasa and get the card draw from it. I just have to double check the wording on Tuvasa, but I think that's how that would work. That's kind of cool. More Werefox action. Curse of the Werefox. Create a monster roll. And then when you do, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Pretty nice. That's actually a pretty sweet piece of removal there. Alright. Have I looked at the spoilers for this set prior to recording the video? Yes. Did I retain everything? No. Honestly, sometimes it's just, oh, that's the new adventure token. Sometimes it's just easier to see what a card does when it's in your hand rather than on a spoiler list. Foil common, cut in, deal 4 damage to target creature for 4 mana. It's a little expensive. Create a young hero roll. I'm not a huge fan of the young hero, because I feel like you can only really put that on a small creature. They get to attack it maybe once or twice, get that trigger, and then that's it. Not a huge fan of it personally. So that's a foil common. I'll just toss that to the side up here. Not really impressed with it. Oh, Goblin Bombardment though. This I love. Is a pretty sweet addition of that. right over here. Ingenious Prodigy, Skulk. X +1/+1 counters at the beginning of your upkeep. If this has one or more, you may remove a counter from it to draw a card. Actually, you know what? I take it back. These actually work very nicely together. Not the Young Hero role and the Ingenious Prodigy actually makes a lot of sense. So, there we go. I just ate my words. Charging Hooligan. When this attacks, 1/0 for each attacking creature. If a rat is attacking, this gains trample. So it's a hill giant with a little bit of upside. Not super impressive there. Whenever a rat you control becomes blocked, gets +2/+0 until end of turn. The Tattered Ratter. I wish this was a common. So for those who are not familiar with Pauper Commander, any uncommon creature, doesn't matter if they're legendary or not, can be your commander. The problem is my Mad Ratter, which is a mono red rat deck I've got, is the commander. He is the uncommon, but this is also uncommon, so I can't have both. Of course, if I wanted to switch to a proper rat deck, there's Totentans, because that's what he does. Target attacking rat you control gains Death Touch. He's pretty good. Lord Skitter's Butcher. When it's entered this battlefield, you can create a rat, stack another creature to scry 2 and draw a card, or give the team menace. Okay. I like the flexibility there. Even for regular, like, lower power commander. Territorial Witchstalker if you like your wolves. Leaping Ambush. +1/+3 and reach. Untap it. This would actually be good in any deck where you use your toughness to beat face rather than your power. Because then all of a sudden you have your blocker back and it's still +3 damage in those decks. Hollow Scavenger. Hey, all the commons are green in this one. Red Tooth Genealogist. This creates a roll token attached to another creature. +1/+1 ward 1. Okay. Oh, we didn't really look at the art card. Sky Beast Tracker. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take my time since I don't get to record very often. I'm just going to take my time. This looks very like Romance of the Three Kingdoms-ish. But I love the reflection. Actually, I'm not sure which is the reflection, which is the actual thing. I think this side here is the actual like scene, and this is the reflection. Nightmare token. Beginning of combat on your turn, if this card is put to exile, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Okay, that might be interesting. We'll see. Oh, that's a nice hit. Talion the Kindly Lord. Choose a number between 1 and 10. When an opponent casts a spell with that mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, the player loses 2 life and you draw a card. That is a nice little mythic pull there. Do I want to put this somewhere else? I'll put it up with the Rustic Study. Another non-foil Griffinary there. Questing Druid. Oh, this is good. Because you got your sort of impulse draw on the adventure side, and then you've got a cheap creature you can cast pretty easy. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a 1/1 counter on this. Love it. That's actually pretty good. This one I think is a little more powered for standard. But I mean, I could see this getting used in our format just for that Seek the Beast adventure. Provisions Merchant gets us a food token. This attack, sacrifice a food to give attacking creatures +1/+1 and trample. Okay. That goes over here, by the way. That's the rares. If there's enough common green creatures that produce food, then that'd be a pretty nasty Pauper Commander also. Rowdy Research. I just have Pauper Commander on the brain today, don't I? Palisade Sword. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any other target, then sacrifice it. Okay, so a red fling. Then when this enters the battlefield, 1/1 counter for each creature that died under your control this turn. This might actually slip into Gut. I like that. You can do some cool stuff with that. Corvold and the Noble Thief. Chapters 1 and 2 for treasure. Chapter 3, exile top 3 cards of target opponent's library. You may play those cards. So this is incentivizing you to keep those treasures so you can cast your opponent's cards. Makes sense to me. Like this champion. This has the new bargain mechanic where you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token to essentially kick the spell and make it better. So this fights, if you bargain it, it fights something. And it's a 4/4 trample, pretty close to curve, so I like that. Bestial Bloodline. You can actually bring this back from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty nifty little aura there. Hopeful Vigil enters the battlefield. Create a 2/2 knight. I like that. I could go to Abdel because then Abdel can blink this and you get knights in addition to his soldiers. Okay. Hopeless Nightmare. When this enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card and loses 2 life. This is so good. Also for Abdel, I can infinitely blink with Abdel, so this is going to go into Abdel for sure because this is a win condition card. Even though it's a common, this will win games for me. So that is good to see. Oh, nice foily regular basic. All right, our next pack here, our art card. Oh yeah, what was this one called again? Just Throne of Eldraine. Yep. And this is one of the roll tokens. So this is a good use of the whole, like, one card on one hat, well, better than the list card. Let's go with that. Because this is an aura, so like what you're not using is basically covered up by your card when you play. It looks something like this. So that's pretty good. This roll card features Monster and Sorcerer. So 2 of the better rolls, I think. Graceful Takedown for the foil. Any number of target enchanted creatures you control, and up to 1 target creature you don't control. And you can just kind of gang up on them. It's a little limited. Oh, nice. I was talking about the hot reprints in this Enchanted Tales. Shared Animosity. This is a huge, huge reprint. If you like your tribal decks, this is just fantastic. Whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a type. So you attack with 8 wizards, they all get +7 or +0 kind of deal. Love it. That's a good hit. The Restless Fortress, the new enemy manlands, as they're called. I think they're all very playable on the overall. That and I just need more non-basics because I play so much Commander. Gumdrop Poisoner. So it's got Tempt with Treats for 1 black. Create a food token. Not bad. 3/2 lifelink. When this enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature gets -X/-X, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. Okay. I think this one's definitely more standard. I don't really see this in Commander. I mean, some people can play this. It's not the worst thing. I think it's a fun card. Picnic Ruiner. Ooh. Distribute 3/1/1 counters amongst any number of target creatures you control. With the adventure here, Stolen Goodies. And then when this attacks while you control a creature power 4 or greater, gains double strike. Yeah, honestly, that would be a pretty interesting commander for the Pauper format. Remember, at Pauper Commander, you don't need your commander does not need to be legendary. Ruby. Not good in any format. Just the mana dork. This might tuck nicely into the 99. There's no reason why not. And then later on could be like a tertiary attacker if you need to. So she's not bad, but she's not going to lead. She's not leading very many decks, I don't think. Witch Talker Frenzy. Deal 5 damage to target creature. I like the fact that you can use this on defense. So if somebody attacks you for like 3 or 4 creatures, you can blast something for 5. Commune with Nature. I've never really liked these cards. The ones where you can look at your top 5, and if you hit the thing, you put it in your hand, but if you whiff, you whiff. And I don't actually like that personally. Wicked Visitor, whenever an enchantment you control spin to a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Keep an eye on this one. We don't really have a lot of enchantments like sacrificing and recursion in our format, but I can see this becoming a thing, so keep an eye on that. Warehouse Tabby. Whenever an enchantment's put into the graveyard, you get a rat. And then the Tabby can get Death Touch. Why not? Then 9 Crescendo. Creatures you control get +2/+0. And then whenever a non-token you control dies, you get a rat. Okay, good stuff there. Keep it going. I will certainly try to speed that up a little bit. So there's the art card here. Ooh, that's gorgeous. I like it. What is Kindred Discovery? The art card. That's just a food token. Cursed Courtier. When this enters the battlefield, create a cursed roll token attached to it. So this has to start off as a 1/1, but then if you can sacrifice the enchantment somehow, it's a 3/3 with lifelink. Okay, not super. Oh, no, that's not super interesting. This is Unnatural Growth. Beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control. That is very interesting for us. Intangible Virtue. I've got copies of this en masse, so I don't necessarily need another one, but this is a nice one. So I might swap it out of one of the decks that I run it in. Another copy of Gumdrop Poisoner. This is the regular border versus the Fairy Tale border. Disdainful Stroke is back. Used to run that a lot. I've kind of been pulling it out of Commander decks because the format's gotten so much faster that countering a spell with mana value 4 or greater is not good enough. Ashnod's Altar is 3 mana, for example. This doesn't stop that. Arcade Dragon. Flying. Ward 2. When this enters the battlefield, scry 2. I don't know. That seems pretty ordinary to me. Up the Beanstalk. Yes, I've been wanting a copy of this for Abdel Adrian. When this enters the battlefield, and whenever you cast the spell with mana value 5 or greater, draw a card. Now, the reason I want to play this in Abdel, you play it, you draw your card. You cast Abdel, draw a card. Blink this out. When later Abdel leaves the battlefield for whatever reason, this comes back in, draw a card. Synergizes very nicely. I'm happy to see a copy of that card in my pulls. Grabby Giant. Make some treasures for 2 mana. I like the ability here. It's 4/3 reach, so pretty good on offense and defense in Pauper Commander. 3, sack an artifact or a land to draw a card. Actually pretty decent. Redcap Thief. When this enters the battlefield, make a treasure. This is great for Goblin decks. Archon's Glory. This has Bargain. If you bargain it, the target creature gets +2/+2 flying and lifelink. So, nothing super exciting there. I do like the card, and that'd be fun to play with in Standard, I think. Stockpiling Celebrant. Return an non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand if you do scry 2. Actually, this is going to be fun to play with. I'm sure of it. Not the most powerful effect by any means, but fun. And it's a night. And I've definitely been seeing my share of night decks lately. Alright. Oh, Atali coming off the list. Of course, you can find Atali for like a dime, so I'm not really impressed to see her here. But if you don't already have one, why not? This is the art card Eerie Interference. So Atali coming off the list. Conceited Witch. This creates a Wicked Roll token attached to one of your creatures, and it's a 2/3 with Menace. Stab Wound, we've seen that already. Rowan, Sign of War. Probably a very powerful CEDH commander here. Probably. because you're going to be dumping a lot of resources into making the reduction as high as possible. What we want to be doing with her when we build her as a commander, you're going to be running things like City of Brass. You'll be running your Pain Lands. You'll be running Godo's Hideout. I forget the exact name of it. It was like your spell is not countered, but you like the spell that you cast the mana, you spend the mana on is not counterable, but it costs you life. So you tap it, you lose your life, and then you tap Rowan for the big discount, and then just go nuts and Comet Storm the whole table. Especially if you manage to run things to untap her. There's not so much in red and blue, but there's a few there's a few artifacts that would untap her. And then, because it just reduces the value of X. So even just like Drain Life. Like Drain Life effects, you just reduce the cost, and then the rest of it you spend black mana on it, and just go, yeah, I'll take that life back. Or Exsanguinate, there you go. It's like, yes, you spend like 10, 12 life, then you tap her, and then you Exsanguinate for 14 or 20, 14, 15, 16, 20, depending on how much mana you've got. She reduces that, and obviously you get all that life back and more. So, really, really nice commander for CEDH, I think. High risk, high reward. Will I build her? No, I'm not a CDH guy, but high risk, high reward for sure. Going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. Dream Spoilers. When you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, up to one target creature an opponent controls gets -1. So just fairies doing fairy things with that one. Two-Headed Hunter. Target creature gains double strike, and you've got a 5/4 menace on this card. This is actually kind of sweet. That's a nice one to kind of sneak into your 99. It's an instant, so yeah, it's almost as good as Temur Battle Rage. Almost. It doesn't grant trample, but it gives you 2 cards for the price of 1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature of power 4 or greater, you may discard a card to draw a card. That is the Boundary Lands Ranger. Pretty cool stuff. That's actually kind of nice. Monstrous Rage, +2/+0 to a creature, and you create a monster roll token. So +3/+1 trample for 1 red mana. That's actually nice in your combat metas. Feed the Cauldron. Destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less. If it's your turn, create a food. Okay, Scream Puff. Deal combat damage to player, create a food. And it's a 4/5 Death Touch. Actually, that's kind of nice. Minstrosity. When this dies, create a food. I see a theme here. When this dies, create a rat. Yeah, we've seen him before. And a nice foily regular swamp. So, I missed pre-release for this one. I did make pre-release for Throne of Eldraine those years ago, but I didn't make it out to this one, so I don't know how the limited format was. This is a Tattered Ratter. Boom. Got the signature on that one. So, if you're watching this in the comments, let me know how pre-release went. I heard some positive things on the overall, but I missed out on this one. It'd have been fun to play with Repercussion in that environment. And again, this is one of the hot reprints. I think this was printed in, was it Prophecy or was it Urga's Legacy? It was somewhere tucked into one of those 2 blocks. I forget where precisely. I think this is the first real reprint of that card since. So great to see this again here, and this is going to be nasty in our format if you aren't already playing this, because if you Blasphemous Act and there's like 27 creatures on the battlefield, then whoever is controlling those creatures is getting blasted big time by this. A Thunderous Debut. Look at the top 20. Reveal 2 creatures. If the spell was bargained, put them onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put them into your hand. So this is, as long as you've got a token, it's a tooth and nail entwined for 1 less. Basically. Yeah, I can see that being playable in our format because it can end some games pretty quickly. It's only 20 cards, though. You only go 1/5 of the way down. You don't actually tutor them out. So, still, Minskin Boo? Yeah, Minskin Boo would like that, I think. Ember Veteran. This creates a young hero role. It's 2-1 for 1, no downside. Emodane's Recruiter. 5 mana to create 2/2/2 knights. A little expensive for that sorcery. Then when this enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/0 in haste. See it being kind of fun. Gallant Pie Wielder. Just throw pies at people's face. Has double strike as long as 2 more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control. Is that our first instance of Celebration? I think it is. Celebration is when you attack with something, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield, you get to do the thing. So I think that's actually our first instance of Celebration, which is interesting. Candy Grapple, they had a lot of fun naming that one. -3/-3 with no bargain, -5/-5 if you bargain. That's actually some pretty good removal, I think, in Pauper. Hamlet Glutton. 6/6 for 7, 2 less if it was bargained. And when it enters the battlefield, gain 3 life. So, yeah, just a big old beater. Why not? Brave the Wilds. Target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental. Now, if you want a funny interaction, just want to look at the new manlands here. I've only got the one so far, the Restless Fortress. So I believe all of the new manlands have a triggered ability whenever this attacks. In this case, whenever this attacks, defending player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. You don't have to use the activated ability to turn this into a creature. You can use something like Brave the Wilds. Turn it into a 3/3 until the end of turn and swing and get the trigger. So I think that's a fun little piece of nuance here. And if you play Standard and you're watching this, I think the Kamigawa is Kamigawa still legal in Standard? I think it is because of the going to 3 years instead of 2. I could just be losing track of time, but there are some enchantments, of course, that you throw it onto the land, it becomes a creature. So those work too, is the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter how these lands become a creature; they just have the triggered abilities. So I think that's kind of funny. Rat Out. I would actually play this in lower power EDH, not necessarily a competitive, but I mean this can shoot down a Zulaport Cutthroat pretty easy, and you get a rat to go with it. Voracious Vermin for more rat fun, and a full panel Plains. Is Rhystic Study our best pull so far? I feel like it is. If it's not Talion, it's Rhystic Study. So that's is that Seb? Is that Seb? No, that is Valera Luftulina. If Lutfelina. Valera Luftulina. There we go. I think I got that right. Ego Drain. That's a cool name of that art. We got these minigame cards. I don't honestly. Does anybody really play these, like these, what have you? Let me know in the comments. I'm not really a fan of them, but if anybody does use these or play with these, let me know. Bellowing Bruiser. Yes, I think we've seen that before. Got a Ground Seal for our Enchanted Tail. Food Fight. Artifacts you control have 2. Sack this artifact. Deal any target. It deals damage to any target equal to 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight you control. Okay. So it's going to deal at least 1 plus the number of permanents named Food Fight. So it's 2. Sack an artifact. Deal 2. If you manage to place a copy artifact or mirror made. If you manage to copy Food Fight and start sacking things, it increases the damage. So, definitely more standard oriented. Very Dream Thief, a 1/1 flyer. This is a great little limited card, I think. Exile this from your graveyard, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Useful, actually. Neva Stalked by Nightmares. When this enters the battlefield, you get a creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. And whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on her, then scry. So the sacrifice enchantment themes, we'll see how that goes. Don't really see that getting a whole ton of play. Ariette's Tempting Apple. When it enters battlefield, gain control of target creature until the end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste. So it's threaten on a colorless card. Yeah. Or we can and then we can later sacrifice it as a food. Tap it, 2-tap it, gain 3. Or we can 2-tap it and sack it, and an opponent loses 3 life. One of the reasons Muldrotha is still an incredibly popular commander to this day, originally coming out in original Dominaria, is that they keep printing cards that are just absolutely amazing with Muldrotha. This is one of them. Stroke of Midnight. Oh, this is a big uncommon hit for us. They've basically power crept Generous Gift. Destroy an online permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1 white human creature token. Now, to be fair, I say for the most part it's more powerful. It's got a much higher floor. But I guess really the one downside is that there are some decks that can really take advantage of the fact that that token is a human. So you got to be careful on that front. Otherwise, a huge improvement over Generous Gift. And probably the reason why Generous Gift was downshifted to common. Rowan's Grim Church. 3 mana, you draw 2, lose 2. If this was bargained, you look at your top 4, 2 back on top. If the spell was bargained, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 2 of them back on top in any order, and the rest into your graveyard. Okay, that's a nifty little variation on Read the Bones. Probably better than Read the Bones if you bargain it. Edgewall Pack. Enters the battlefield, create a rat. So 4 mana, you get a Hill Giant with Menace and a rat token. If that's not power creep over Hill Giant, I don't know what is. Red Cratcher Trainee. 3 mana, create 2 rats. And then as long as it's your turn, it's a 2/1 with First Strike. Okay. Armory Mice. Gets +2 as long as 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So it's a 3/1, but can be a 3/3. So a little better than a Blade in that sense. And that's, again, this is a gorgeous Plains art. I kind of want this to be like the full frame Plains art rather than what we got here. I like what we have here. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather this be in full frame. Am I even through a third of the box yet? I'm not even sure. I don't think I am. Ooh, that is actually a very dark scene that we're looking at here. Karmic Justice. For the card art here, we've got a rat token, 3 bowls of porridge. One's too hot, one's too cold, and one is just right. The 2 hot deal 2 damage to target creature. The 2 cold tap target creature, and the just right gain 3 life. I can see this being a lot of fun. Compulsion. Again, this one was originally printed in Torment. It was an uncommon then, uncommon now. But fantastic stuff here. Great reprint. 2 mana, pitch a card, draw a card, or 2 mana, sack this, draw a card. This is a really great way of, filling up your graveyard, getting some madness triggers, getting to, like, whatever you want to do with putting cards into your graveyard, this can do very, very nicely. Restless Biovac, another one of the man lands. Becomes a 2/2 white and red ox. And when this attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Could put the 1/1 counter on this and just have it sit there for a while. Maybe even proliferate it if you're running some of those cards. Stone Splitter Bolt shoots creatures or planeswalkers. If this was bargained, it deals twice X. Okay, removal spell. My only beef is that you cannot target a player with this. Twisted Fealty, another threaten effect. Strictly better than threaten because threaten costs 3 and just does the gain control of target creature. until end of turn, whereas this also has the ability to create a wicked roll token. So Gut is getting a slight upgrade with this. Gut loves being like my Gut deck loves taking my opponent's creatures and sacking them off. So what's nice about this is I can also throw the wicked roll into one of my skeletons and make that a little bit bigger. So double duty. Actually, another hot thing about this is that it has two targets. It has the creature you target for the wicked roll and the target that you're taking. So if you're trying to take somebody's creature and they sack it in response, for example, you still get the wicked roll token. Or vice versa, if you try to give your, in my case, a skeleton the wicked roll token and they remove it, I still get their creature. So nice little card, that one. The Witch's Vanity. Nice saga here. Destroy target creature the opponent controls with mana value 2 or less. That includes most tokens that are not a copy of a creature. So, okay, removal. Create a food token on Chapter 2. And then Chapter 3, create a wicked roll attached to a creature you control. I don't think that one's impactful enough in our format, but it looks like a fun card. Ash Party Crasher. Celebration. When this attacks, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, it gets a 1/1 counter. So this grows very, very slowly. But could do some stuff with that, I guess. But I think it grows a little too slowly for it to be like good. Belligerent of the Ball. Celebration. If 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, target creature you control gets +1/0 and menace until end of turn. And it's a 3-mana 3/3. Okay, so I mean that curve's pretty nice. Flick a Coin. This is actually really good. Deal damage to any target, you create a treasure token and draw a card. So 3 mana seems expensive, but I mean you're getting 3 things for 3 mana, including a card draw. So I will definitely be running this in my Mad Ratter deck. It is a common, so Mad Ratter getting a nice little treat there. Cut In, we've already seen that. Toon Veil Guide gets +1/+0 and lifelink as long as 2 more non-land permanents have entered the battlefield this turn. And it flies, so it's a 4-mana 2/3 flying, which is, we see that rate a lot. Not a great rate for Commander, but certainly better than a lot of things we see. All right, nice little art card. That one is the art card for prophetic for this version's Prophetic Prison, or this set's Prophetic Prisons. Let's see. List card. We've got Brago's representative from the list. While voting, you get an additional vote. I'm not building a vote deck anytime soon, unfortunately. Ice Out, a nice foily counter spell. It's blue 1. It's cancel if you don't bargain it. If you do bargain it, it's counter spell. In Commander, not as great as that used to be. Aggravated Assault. There we go. This is part of combos. If you can generate mana when you attack, you can get infinite attack steps. Great pull there. Garruk's Uprising. Also a good pull. If you control a creature of power 4 or greater, draw a card. And then creatures you control have trample, and then whenever a creature of power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, draw a card. Again, a great fit into my Abdel Adrian deck. Regal Bunnycorn. I have to show my wife this card. She's not into the game at all, but I have to show her this card just because it's a rabbit unicorn. Even she won't be able to geek out over it. Howling Galefang. 4 mana, 4/4 Vigilance, has haste as long as you own a card in exile that has an adventure. The card doesn't have to be on an adventure, it just has to be in exile. Good to know. But I mean, 4/4 Vigilance for 4 is pretty sweet. In, again, lower power formats. Stormcarol Vanguard. 2 mana, destroy target artifact or enchantment at sorcery speed. But then 6 mana for a 6/7 that cannot be blocked by creatures power 2 or less. So they have to give up something good for it. They can't just chump it. Wouldn't be a bad commander for Pauper, actually. Because just having, artifact and enchantment removal in your command zone is pretty awesome. Galvanic Giant. It's a rare case where the adventure is more expensive than the creature. Because it's 7 mana for Storm Reading. Draw 4 and discard 2. Not a great rate for that. I'm not really a huge fan of that. Whenever you cast a spell of mana value 5 or greater, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. So if you like tapping down your opponent's creatures for the long term, I could see that being okay. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Storm Reading here, but could potentially play that in a Wizard themed deck. Troublemaker Oomph. This enters the battlefield if it was bargained. Exile an artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. This is actually quite good. That's actually really playable in in Pauper Commander and probably low to mid power Commander. Bespoke Battle Garb. You can comment on your turn. If 2 more non-land permanents enter the battlefield, then you control attaches to 1 target creature. So this equips for free. That's cool. This can equip for free if you had a couple of permanents go onto the battlefield. That's a nice little piece of celebration there. I like that a lot. Grand Ball Guest. +1/+1 and trample as long as 2 more non-land permanents enter the battlefield. But it's only a 2/2 to start. So if you buff him up, like say with the Battle Garb, I could see that putting in some work. Skewer Slinger. Whenever this blocks or becomes blocked, deal 1 damage to that creature. I like this because this is actually a good answer to Death Touch. Because if they're swinging a 1/1 stake with Death Touch at you, for example, this can block it safely because it's going to shoot that creature down before the creature can deal any damage to it. So, do we see that a lot? Not necessarily, but it can. Our art card here, Dragon, Scalding Viper. That's a nice piece of art there. 2/2 Vigilant Knight there. Voracious Vermin. When this enters the battlefield, create a rat. Then when it dies, put a 1/1 counter on... Sorry, whenever another creature you control dies, this gets a 1/1 counter. So this can get pretty big pretty fast. Oversold Cemetery. Original printing Onslaught. Reprints between then and now. As far as I can recall, 0. At least, unless it was in a secret lair of some sort. Dragon Mantle, nice little uncommon aura. Basically turns one of your creatures into a dragon. And it draws a card. So Abdel with the red version of the deck is going to want this. Because it's just 1 mana draw a card. Over here. And a third one, Spreading Seas. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Again, Abdel. Enchanted Land is an island. Virtue of Strength. The virtues these are all sweet. I like all of them. Especially this one. I mean, it's a 7 mana cast. It says if you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana. But the Garenbrig Growth 1 mana says return a creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand for 1 green. My Titania deck is gonna love it. I've got the Titania that has Meld. So she's going to love having this. Troyan Gutsy Explorer. If you want to play Simic big stuff, this is actually pretty cool. Because this ramps you up to 5 and 6 mana so easy. Actually, that might be a thing, actually. Troyan Gutsy Explorer with the Companion. Yeah, that might actually be a deck. That might actually be a deck. I'll have to keep that one in mind. Wouldn't be able to take full advantage with this though, but Scan the Clouds. Instant, draw 2, discard 2. That's okay, actually. It costs less than Frantic Search, but you don't get your mana back. It's also a 3/4 trample. Whenever you cast a spell mana value of 5 or greater, this gets a counter. I can see that being a ton of fun also. Collector's Vault. This, if you want power creep, when they originally started the game, they had Jade Mind Tome, which is 4 to cast, 4 tap, draw a card. Then they had Arcane Encyclopedia, 3 to cast, 3 tap, draw a card. This is Collector's Vault, 2 mana to cast, 2 tap, draw, then discard, create a treasure. This is actually a disgustingly good card. Gotta get so much value off of that. If you, again, low to mid power commander, easily get a ton of value there. Minecart Daredevil, nothing exciting there. Verdant Outrider, can't be blocked creatures with power 2 or less. So this could trade up on the attack, you never know. Fellow Horseman, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So nice little adventure there. And then when this dies, it goes to the bottom of the library. And there's a zombie and a knight. Okay. Is that a foil? Oh, the foiling's pretty light on this one. But there is a little foiling on that. I don't know if it's showing up on camera. Alright. Already an hour, so let's keep going. I'll try to stop reading all of the comments. Ooh, list pull. Gisa and Ralph. Used to run them as my zombie commander a long time ago. Not so much these days. And then what's art is that? Defense of the Heart. So that's something we could pull. I'll have to keep an eye out for it. I would definitely like to have that. So list over here. Water Wings. Knightly Valor. 5 mana, gives an enchanted creature +2/+2 vigilance. Also creates a knight creature token with vigilance. Werefox Bodyguard. I like this has flash. This is cool. Yeah, because this is like not O-Ring, but what's the other one? Anyways, comes down, exiles a non-fox creature until this leaves the battlefield at flash speed, and it's a 2/2 creature. And you can sack it and gain 2 life, so if someone's going to board wipe and try to get their creature back, you can sack it in response so their creature dies. You can use it on your thing to get their ETBs again. Cool card. I like that. Old Flitter Flang. Lots of Pauper commander discussion around this. Wait, that's a rat fairy? It flies? This thing flies. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, it doesn't matter whose creature it was, create a food token. That's each and every turn. This thing's sick. I like that. That's why Pauper Commander players are talking about that one. Frolicking Familiar. Yes, is it players? You finally have your Otter. Especially if you play Pauper Commander. Blow off steam, 1 damage to any target. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, this gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it flies. Good to know. Earth Elemental. Stoke Genius. Discard your hand, draw 2 cards. This spell costs X less to cast for X the number of cards in your graveyard that are instant sorceries or have an adventure. It's just a 4/5 though, so I don't know. Johann, Apprentice Sorcerer. Oh yes, this is Melic Light. I remember seeing this. That's Melic Light. A little less power, a little less toughness, a little less to cast, but you only get 1 instant or sorcery off the top of your library each turn. Break the spell, destroy an enchantment. If a permanent you controlled or a token was destroyed this way, draw a card. I feel like there's some tricksy things you can do with that, but again, I don't see being commander a thing. Johann Stopgap. Return an online permanent to its owner's hand, draw a card. And it's super cheap to cast if you've bargained. Quick Study. Oh, this is a big deal, this. Divination, but at instant speed. Apparently, it's one of the most expensive commons in the set because, instant speed, draw 2 cards is really, really good, even at that rate. Savior of the Sleeping. Creature, whenever an enchantment controls put into a graveyard, this gets a 1/1 counter. Okay. And there's that really nice plains that I like. Keep her going. Totentans in the form of an art card. Fairy token. Kobold and the Noble Thief in foil. I like that. Forced Fruition. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they must draw 7 cards. It's good if you want to play that mill strategy. Really high risk stuff though. Bond's Bane Troll. This comes in with a monster roll token attached to it. Sacrifice an aura attached to him. So you can actually sacrifice the monster roll to fight something. Okay. Cursed Courtier. When this enters the battlefield, create a cursed roll token. We've seen him before. Splashy Spellcaster. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a sorcerer roll. Okay, that's actually looks like a lot of fun. That Gadwick's First Duel. So 2 mana, Chapter 1, create a rat. Chapter 2, scry 2. Chapter 3, cast into your next instance or sorcery mana value 3 or less, copy it. I like that's actually a really good, really good saga. Gives you a little bit of board presence early, and then once you get to that third chapter, you can have some fun with it. Welcome to Sweet Tooth. Create a human, create a food, and then put X counters on a creature you control where X is 1 plus the number of foods. So if you're running your food deck, why not? That looks like that's pretty efficient. Water Wings. Target creature you control has base power and toughness 4/4, gains flying and hexproof. So you can actually really protect your creature from a bunch of things with that. And only 2 mana to do it. Slumbering Keep Guard. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. And then wait, 3 mana. This gets 1/1 for each enchantment you control. This I can see that scene play. Sugar Rush plus 3/0 until end of turn. Draw a card for 2 mana. Not bad. Moment of Valor. Untap target creature. It gets +1/+0 and indestructible. So good defensive spell that, or you can destroy a creature power 4 or greater. So it does a couple of things there. Good options. Okay. That's a big bird. Dutiful Griffin. We got ourselves a monster and sorcerer roll token here. Rowan's Grim Search, we've seen that before. Utopia Sprawl, nice. Farsight Ritual. Top 4 cards of your library. If the spell was bargained, look at the top 8 of your library instead. 2 in your hand, the rest on the bottom. So that's pretty good. I like that. 4 mana and get at least 2 of your the best 2 of your next 4, or the best 2 of your next 8, depending on if you bargain or not. That's actually pretty good. Storyteller Pixie. Whenever you cast an adventure spell, draw a card. You will see this. We do have a couple of commanders that care about adventures now. You will see this card in play. No question. Back for seconds. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. If this was bargained, put one of those with mana value 4 or less onto the battlefield. It's only 3 mana. So 3 mana to get 2 creatures to your hand, or 3 mana to get 1 in your hand and 1 on the battlefield if you manage to bargain something. I can see that being pretty playable. Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. Again, there's another card to show the wife. Does she play Magic? No. Does she want to play Magic? No. Foods you control have tap, add a green. This comes with a food token, and it turns your foods into mana rocks. And then it gives you an overrun effect. Not so much an overrun. It's creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of foods you control. For 7 mana. Yes, you have to sacrifice the enchantment, but worth it at that point. Usually, if you're paying the 7, that means you're going for the knockout. So, Tough Cookie. Everyone's a huge fan of the Tough Cookie, and there's a lot of words on it. Create a food. It is a food. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 4/4, and of course sack this to gain 3 life. Mono green. Yeah, mono green artifacts in Pauper Commander. Anyone? I'm looking forward to see. Like somebody's already built this deck. I'm sure of it. I'm excited to see it. Radic Firebolt. X plus 2 to any creature where X is 2 plus the number of cards in your graveyard that are instants, sorceries, or have an adventure. Okay, but again, only hits creatures. Does not hit players. So I'm not a huge fan, unfortunately. Unruly Catapult. Oh, we got another one of these. I like it. It's a 0/4. Tap, deal damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instance or sorcery, untap the catapult. So my Mad Rider deck does have a lot of instants and sorceries and runs similar cards. So that will be a welcome addition. Living Lectern. Sack it, draw a card, create a sorcerer roll. Activate only as a sorcery, but it's 2 mana 0/4. Toadstool, Admirer, Ward 2. You can dump a bunch of mana into it to make it bigger. We're starting to get more and more oops. So Oops Tribal is coming down the pipe. It must be. Alright, our art card is Agatha's Champion. Got a Beast token. Foil Griffin Ari. Yes. Smothering Tithe. Huge hit. Love that. Devouring Sugar Maw. Create a human. It's a 6/6 of menace and trample for 4. Beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token if you don't tap it. That's kind of old school, actually, that drawback. At least it doesn't deal damage to you. But yeah, no, it's a sack outlet. It's a big beater. Yeah. I like the name of the adventure. It's called Half for Dinner, and you create a token that you eventually sacrifice to the Devouring Sugar Maw. Taken by Nightmares. 4 mana, exile target creature. If you control an enchantment, scry 2. The rate's a little too high for the Commander format, but I like how clean and straightforward that is. Ashiok's Reaper. An enchantment put to a graveyard from the battlefield. Draw a card. Now you have to control that enchantment, but still, I can see that be doing cool things. Like you throw a stab wound onto somebody's creature, for example. If that creature ends up dying at some point, you get the card back. Eerie Interference. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control this turn by creatures. So somebody attacks you, you cast Eerie Interference, and it's a blowout. That's pretty good for combat metas. I like it. Greta, Sweet Tooth Scourge. S comes in, makes a food token. Sack a food, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Sack a food, draw a card, and lose a life. Okay. Does fun things. Gingerbread Hunter. With Puny Snack, target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. And then when this enters the battlefield, create a food. And it's a 5/5 for 5 that gives you a food token. Evolving Wilds is back. Root Rider Fawn. 2 mana, 1/3 taps for green, or you can filter with it. Not a bad little mana dork if you want to go that route. And it's a Satyr for those 5 or 6 people that are playing the Satyr tribal deck. Merfolk Crawlsmith. When this dies, scry 2. That's pretty good. They needed to add a couple new Merfolk in this set just to keep the professor happy. I don't know. No other explanation for that. Food token in the front. Yeah, these booster packs are kind of backwards. I think it's the Japanese style one, so like the tokens and the rares are in the front, the commons are in the back. There's Kaelin on the front of that card there. Into the Fey Court. Food. Looks absolutely delicious. Red Cap Gutter Dweller. It's for rare here. When this enters the battlefield, create 2 rats. That's pretty good rate. 2 rats for that. Beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, this gets a 1/1 counter, and you get to exile the top of your library. Gut might like that, actually. Dark Tutelage. Beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. So I'm a little mixed on this card. I feel like Phyrexian Arena is just strictly better. Because, yes, there'll be occasions where you flip a land and lose no life, but then you might flip your win con and lose 8. Better in Rowan, perhaps. Rowan Sign of War would like this. But most other decks would probably prefer Phyrexian Arena. Season of Growth. Creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. Yeah, I think we've seen that one before. Archon of the Wild Rose. Other creatures you control enchanted by auras have base power toughness 4, 4, and have flying. That'd be a fun thing to sneak in at Tati over, turn her into a flying creature of base power and toughness 4, 4. 3 bowls of porridge we've seen before. The Skirning Financier. Beginning of your upkeep. If an opponent controls more lands than you, create a treasure. Okay. Choose another player. That player gains control of target treasure you control. Draw a card. I definitely see this card seeing some play in our formats, but I don't know how people end up using it. Edgewall in. Enters tapped. Choose a color. Tap for a mana of the chosen color. And 3 sack it. Return a creature card that has an adventure from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, I think the adventure decks will play that. In fact, if your commander has an adventure on it, run this card. Because this is a cheap way to get your commander back into your hands and get around commander tax. So that might be a consideration. Unassuming Sage from the center of the battlefield, you may pay 2 to attach a sorcerer roll to it. So it's a 2 mana 2/2 or 4 mana 3/3 that scries on attack. Yeah, it's a common. That feels right. Tap up to 1 target creature, scry 1, draw a card. Actually, not bad. We might actually see play. Crystal Grotto gets the reprint. Comes down, scries 1. So, nice reprint there. Kellen's Light Blades. Deal 3 damage to an attacking or blocking creature. If this was bargained, destroy it instead. Alright, we're making up some time here. If you're still watching, thanks for hanging out for so long. Ooh, that's the art card for the Iron Crag. Now this would be a nice artifact to pull. IMO. Elfin Palisado, list card. Sack of Forest, target attacking creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn. I don't have anywhere I could play that, but it's a nifty little card. Pest of Honor. Alright, beginning of combat on your turn. If 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield, this gets +1/+1 counter. That's okay. Foils, boom. Hatching Plans, as are Enchanted Tales. This is probably really fun and limited, since this is something you can play and then sacrifice later for bargain. Because then you get your 3 cards back. So, great limited card. Hilda's Crown of Winter. Oh, yes. 1 tap target creature. This costs 1 less to activate during your turn. So, in our format where we can only have 1 copy of any given card, this is just a strictly better Icy Manipulator for tapping creatures. The fact that we can actually end up just paying mana attacking it, like if somebody taps out for a big attack, you can sack this and try and find your fog. Or whatever combat trick can get you out of that mess. So, happy to see that. Tanglespound Lookout. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That is a very, very straightforward card. And like aura-based Enchantress, I could see the same play in some of our aura Voltron commanders, or this can be an aura Voltron commander in and of itself in Pauper Commander too. Because then you cast this and then you follow up with a Rancor, draw a card. So, could be a thing. So, Pauper Commander, this is just very straightforward and very efficient IMO. Graceful Takedown. Shrouded Shepherd. Creatures your opponent's control get -1/-1 until end of turn. That's if you cast Cleave Shadows. Then when it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +2/+2. So, As a Pauper commander, this thing is a great counter against Abdel Adrian. If you play the Pauper commander versions of Abdel Adrian or Gut, this is just a silver bullet because you just have this sitting in your command zone. If someone gets too many skeletons or too many soldiers, boom. The commander itself, when this enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +2/+2. That's okay, I guess. Merry Bards. Create a young hero roll if you pay the extra 1. Not particularly impressed with that. Shatter the Oath. 5 mana, destroy target creature or enchantment in black. Create a Ricket Roll token up to 1 target creature you control. You know what text is missing? Lose 3 life. That's missing. There's no life cost. It's expensive. It's 5 mana to destroy a creature or enchantment, which is expensive. But not only is there no downside, but you also get a Wicked Roll token. Interesting. Ariet's Whisper. Target opponent discards 2 cards. Create a Wicked Roll. Seems to be the theme of this pack is Wicked Roll. Rhymeful Reindeer. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, tap a creature an opponent controls. So that fits some themes. We've got Ice Out again. And a Foil Mountain. Now let's open this pile. I don't know, I feel good about my pulls on the overall. Ravnica at War from the list. Before we look at the rest of the pack, the art card is this guy here. Shatter the Oath. So Ravnica at War coming from the list. Exile all multicolored permanents. Curse of the Werefox foil. We've seen that card before. Griffin Airy. We're getting a lot of those. Spectre of Mortality. Enters the battlefield. Exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. When you do, each other creature gets -X/-X. X is the number of cards exiled this way. Okay. Not super impressive, I don't think. It's an interesting board wipe, but it's only really gonna work if you've got a ton of dead creatures already. Twinning Twins. This is a card I've been looking for, actually. Swift Spiral. It's got the Swift Spiral Adventure on there. Exile target non-token creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Pretty sweet. It's also a 4 mana, 4/4 with Flying Vigilance and Ward 1. So take the adventure away. This is just way better than Serra Angel. Just on baseline stats alone. Being a 4 mana, 4/4 Flying Vigilance. It also has Ward. It's also a Fairy and a Wizard, which are 2 very relevant creature types. So, yeah, Serra Angel, we love you. We miss you. You've been power crept out a long time ago, but this is definitely the final nail. Experimental Confectioner. This comes down, you get a food. Whenever you sacrifice a food, you get a rat. Cool. Succumb to the cold. Tap 1 or 2 target creatures an opponent controls, put a stun counter. Nice. Ice Rot Sentry. I've been thinking about making this into a Pauper commander, actually. For 3 mana, it's a 2/3 with Vigilance. Whenever this attacks, you could pay 2 mana to tap a creature an opponent controls, so you can tap their biggest and nastiest blocker. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, this gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Sticking to the tap and stun counter theme, we've got Charade of Numbing Depths, which can also be a Pauper commander. Not dead after all. Target creature you control gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control, then create a Wicked Roll token. If you end up looking into Pauper Commander, this is a big archetype. There's a lot of black cards with this effect where if something's about to die, you play the instance to kind of make sure it comes back. They call it Death Blink. And it's an actual archetype in Pauper Commander. So that's going to see a lot of play there. Could see some play in actual Commander too, depending on what you're running. Conceited Witch. For 1 mana, create a Wicked Roll. We've seen this before. Torch the Tower. 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this was bargain, it's 3 damage to that permanent, and you scry 1. And then if something gets killed by this, it's exiled. So that's actually a pretty good removal spell. This one is Brave the Wilds. The art card. Got ourselves a Knight token, Diminisher Witch. Impact Tremors. Yes, another huge reprint in this set. Yes, thank you for that. Imodane the Power Hammer. Lots of people in the Discord group are hyped for this one. I can't blame them. This is a pretty nice, like, mono red bird commander. Love it. Corvold is back. Gleeful Glutton. Jund. Costs 1 less to cast for each card type among permanents you've sacrificed this turn. Flying Trample Haste, 4/4. When this deals combat damage to a player, put X1 counters on this and draw X cards. X is the number of permanent types amongst cards in your graveyard. You definitely want to be giving this double strike. This is a sweet pull. I don't think I have any Jund decks active at the moment, so maybe I'll look into that. Glass Casket, nice little exile effect. Woodland Acolyte. 1 green, put a permanent card from your graveyard on top of your library. Add instant speed, which is pretty cool. When this enters the battlefield, draw a card. That's actually and that's just the 3 mana 2/2 for that. So, yeah, I like that. Royal Treatment. Target creature you control gains hexproof, and you get a Royal Roll token. Royal Roll, sorry. So another way of protecting your creatures from removal. Sir Armont. This enters the battlefield, create a Monster Roll token. And then enchanted creatures you control get +1/+1. Ooh, that looks like a lot of fun, actually. Kindle Terrorism. Target creature gets +1/+0 and first strike. Scry 1. This should be over here. That goes over here. Frostbridge Guard. Freeze in place. Tap a creature, put 3 stun counters on it. Scry 2. And I do like the full frame island. Huge fan of that. Am I happy with my pulls so far? Yes. I'm liking what I've been getting so far. Do want more of those roll tokens because that's going to be important. Here's our food. Storyteller Pixie. Again, we'll see a ton of that in our format. Sanguine Bond. Yeah, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Hot limited card in a set full of food. Feral Encounter. Look at your top 5. You may exile a creature card from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. You may cast the exiled card this turn. At the beginning of the next combat phase, target creature you control deals damage to its power up. So it's a fight spell that could impulse draw you a creature. I don't know. I'm not, because it's all unrelated stuff. So look at your top 5. Exile a creature card from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. So if you hit a creature, you get to put a creature into exile. Beginning your next combat phase, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to 1 target creature you don't control. So it's got that, not so much fight, but rabbit bite thing going on. I guess it's strictly better than rabbit bite. A Court of Lockthwain. Yes, that's a nice one. Black Monarch Enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of the target opponent's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. If you're the Monarch, until end of turn, you may cast the spell from among cards exiled without paying its mana cost. So, if you are the Monarch, you can get any card you've exiled with it thus far. If you're not, it's only the card that you've exiled that turn. Cool. That makes sense. Solitary Sanctuary. Tap target creature, put a stun counter on it. Cool. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. That's a signpost for that theme if I've seen one. Bitter Chill. Lots of tap down stuff in this set. When this enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Sure. I like it. Return Triumphant. Return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it's a young hero. That's actually a pretty good recursion spell. It's because it's only 2 mana to get the thing back. So, yeah, I like that. This enters, create a Royal Roll. Little expensive for the flyer, but it exists. Protective Parents. When this dies, create a young hero roll. Oh, that's actually tragic. If the parents die, the kid becomes a hero. This isn't a fairy tale world. This is Batman. Like, look at this. This is Batman. Mocking Sprite. Instant sorceries spells you cast cost 1 less. I can definitely see that seeing some play in our format. That is for sure. So yeah, no, I've always been like excited by cards across all rarities, not just the big rares or the big uncommons per se. That is Leaping Ambush. So I guess that's one of the reasons why I've been taking kind of taking my time on this pack bust. Primal Vigor. I knew doubling season was in here. I forgot about Primal Vigor. This is doubling season for everybody. But it's just tokens or +1/+1 counters. So this doesn't affect loyalty counters, for example. But still, a card that has not been reprinted in a very long time getting the call here in the Enchanted Tales. Restless Spire, another one of those man lands. The Is It one. The Princess Takes Flight. 3 mana, exile a creature. 2. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and flying. And chapter 3, return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control. The trick with this one, folks, bargain it away before chapter 3. Because if you bargain this away before chapter 3, the creature at exile in chapter 1 remains exiled permanently. They don't get it back. So the whole point of this card is to bargain it away after you've exiled the creature. Dutiful Griffin. Sack 2 enchantments. Return this from your graveyard to your hand. 4/4 flying for 5. Threadbind Click. Destroy target tapped creature with Rip the Seams. The adventure here. And just a 3/3 flyer for 4. And they're fairies. That's okay. With 2 Vanguard. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 to return this from your graveyard to your hand. 3/1 trample. Okay. Prophetic Prism gets the reprint. Snare Master Sprite. When this enters the battlefield, you may pay 2, tap target creature and opponent controls, and put a stun counter on it. At common, it's a 1/1 flyer. Nice. Into the Fate Court. 5 mana, draw 3 cards. Create a fairy token. They can only block creatures with flying. So 5 mana for 3 cards and a little bit of board presence is okay at common. And Stingblade Assassin. When this enters the battlefield, destroy a creature and opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. Has flash, which I think is interesting. Just wish it was a vampire, not a fairy, personally. I've got a couple of vampire decks that would benefit from that if it were, in fact, a vampire. Art card. Looks like an otter. It is the elusive otter. Bird token. Aquatic Alchemist. Yeah, I think we've seen him already. Curiosity. Sir Ginger. Yes. A Food Knight. This has Trample, Hexproof, and Haste as long as an opponent controls a Planeswalker. Okay. I wanted to mention something. I think it's absolutely hilarious how just a few months ago, Wizards officially recognized Oathbreaker, a 60-card singleton format where you can have a Planeswalker in your command zone as your Oathbreaker alongside a sorcery spell to back it up in your command zone. They just officially made it a format. And then now we're in an story arc. We're only seeing 1 Planeswalker per set for at least the next 3 years. Brains, they got used. Question mark. Anyways. Sir Ginger Mealander hates Planeswalkers. And whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard, this gets a 1/1 counter and you get a scry. That's actually a cool ability. And it's a food also, so it gets the food text. Tap, pay 2, tap, sack it to gain life equal to its power. It's not fixed at 3 life. You gain life equal to its power. Pick Lock Prankster. Mill 4 cards, put an instant sorcery or fairy from among them into your hand. Also a 1/3 Flying Vigilance. Chancellor of Tales. Oh yes, whenever you cast an adventure spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Again, this will be a staple in our format in those adventure-themed decks. Ego Drain. This might go into some fairy-themed decks, but we don't really see target player discards a card in our format. High Fey Negotiator. When this enters the battlefield, if it was bargained, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Fairy Warlock. And it's a pretty decent flyer. Maybe a Pauper Commander. You might see it in regular Commander too. I don't expect it though. Soul Guide Lantern. Misleading Motes. Target creature's owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Instant speed. But 4 mana. That's a lot to hold up. Baronati. It has lifelink as long as you control another fairy. So, you like that fairy theme? Perfect. Cooped Up. Pacifism, but better because you can eventually pay mana to exile the enchanted creature. Alright, art card in this pack. Speeding things up, really. Just going to wrap it up. Karmic Justice. That's the art for Karmic Justice. So that could be another potential pull in this series here. Nightmare Token. O'Brien Dreaming Duelist again, this time in foil. Vampiric Rites. That's an okay reprint, not a great one, but it's pretty easy to get a copy of Vampiric Rites. So I wasn't too keen to see that one. Held of the Icy Crown. Whenever you tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1. Oh wow. You may pay 1, get a 4/4 elemental creature token, or a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, or scry 2 and draw a card. Those are some pretty good payouts for tapping down your opponent's creatures. So yeah, Azorius tap down in regular Commander. She makes that really tempting. Devouring Sugar Maw in the Fairy Tale frame. Oh yes, we've seen him before. That's our 6/6 trample, as long as we can sacrifice something. Knight of Droves. Whenever an enchantment is put to a graveyard from the battlefield, get a bird. Actually, a potential combo piece here. This, with I believe it's Enchanted Evening that turns all permanents into enchantments, means that the bird tokens will also be enchantments. So you can do an infinite sack loop of some sort in Azorius colors. If you've got Knight of Droves, Enchanted Evening, and some sort of sack outlet. So there you go, potential combo piece there. I like it. Cheeky House Mouse we've seen before. Spellscorn Coven we've seen before. Witch's Mark. You may discard a card if you do draw 2 cards. That's a 2-mana sorcery. Create a Wicked Roll token. Mad Ratter is happy to see that. Sleight of Hand. Great reprint. A fun little cantrip that. It's, you look at your top 2 cards, one goes to your hand, the other goes on the bottom of your library. The nice thing about this is that this does not count as a card draw. So this does not trigger your opponent's Smothering Types, for example. So if you, in fact, if you see Smothering Tithe a lot in your play group, swap out your Preordains for Sleight of Hand. I'm not even kidding. Titanic Grove. Target creature gets +4/+4. And a Spell Stutter. Counter target spell unless it's controlled pays 2 plus an additional 1 for each fairy you control. So in the fairy decks, if you have a bunch of fairies, strictly better than Mana Leak. Then again, we don't really run Mana Leak. See it once in a blue moon. I feel like Mana Leak's a card we should be seeing more often just because we like to tap out in our format for the most part. Let's see what we have here. This is Court of Garenbrig. That is the art card for Court of Garenbrig. That's the rules for Winchester Draft. Commune with Nature. I've already discussed that. Ooh, Grasp of Fate. Yep, this lets you like exile a creature each opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. So fantastic multiplayer card. Rotisserie Elemental. I like that name. Deal combat damage to a player. Put a skewer counter on this. Then you may sack it. If you do, exile top X cards of your library. Right, X is the number of skewer counters. Okay, so impulse draw based on the number of skewer counters on it, but you have to be able to connect with your opponent. The fact it's got menace helps, but it's only a 1/1. So I don't know. I don't see that being good anywhere, really. Twisted Sewer Witch, I think we've seen before. Tattered Rider, we've definitely seen before. Totem Tans as well. Diminisher Witch. If this was bargain, create a cursed roll token attached to target creature and opponent controls. I like that. That's a fun little card. Sweet Tooth Witch. This comes in with a food token. Sack of food. Target player loses 2 life. Okay, Return from the Wilds. Oh, this is pretty good, actually, this one. Choose 2. Search your library for a basic land. Put it onto the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. Create a 1/1 human. Create a food token. It's 3 mana, but you get 2 of those things. 2 of those 3 things. So not bad. Obaya's Attendant. Target creature gets -4/-0 if you cast Desperate Parry. That's a 3/4 flying. Sky Beast Tracker. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, create a food. It's a 2/4 with reach. If your deck cares about food, that's pretty decent. If it doesn't, don't run it. IMO. Next up, we have a Rowan Sign of War art card. Got a food token. Chancellor of Tales. For the Adventure decks. Raid Bombardment. Let's see what we have here. Whenever a creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, this deals 1 damage to the player or planeswalker that it's attacking. Ooh, nasty. Probably never printed a common, which makes me sad because I want that in my Mad Rider deck. The Huntsman's Redemption. Yeah, where's Garruk? Didn't see any sign of him. Sorry. Getting thirsty. Chapter 1, create a 3/3 beast for 3 mana. That's on curve. That's pretty good. You may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature or basic land, put it into your hand. Yeah, that might be okay. You don't necessarily want to sacrifice that 3/3. You could. Chapter 3, up to 2 target creatures each gain +2/+2 and trample. Okay, so if you you can use Proliferate to kind of accelerate into that and get a nice little combat trick in there. Obraya is back. Fairy Fencing. Target creature gets -X/-X. So it's black X. And then an additional -3/-3 if you control the fairy as you cast the spell. Okay, so again, a nice little fairy signpost here. Is Dimir the color combination of the creature type? Someone I was having a conversation with over a game at Spell Table was saying how you would never introduce a new player to the game using Yuriko the Tiger Shadow. The reason for that is because it doesn't represent Dimir in their opinion. It doesn't really represent what Dimir is about. Which kind of makes sense to me, but then they've also got like the Merfolk deck in Dimir. They've got the Fairy deck. You can even do Dimir Zombies, Dimir Vampires. So honestly, I don't know. I think Dimir is becoming more and more defined by the creature types rather than their colors. Is it just me, or is that just my thought there? Let me know. If you're still watching, this far, let me know what you think about Dimir in Commander. As I do run a Dimir deck that's not based on creature types, but it is based on dungeons because I am running Relsa Royale. All right. So another Rowan card. This is probably the alternate art version of Rowan. So fun to get that here. OG Eldraine card here. Fortifying Provisions coming off the list. Get a food. Give the whole team +1 toughness. It's funny. You look at this card specifically, and you're like, "Oh, Eldraine wasn't that powerful." When you see that kind of card, but no, OG Eldraine was nutso. That's a Grave Pact. That is a Grave Pact. So I forgot that was in there, and I was just stunned. I saw those words. I'm like, oh, oh, oh. Extraordinary Journey. When this enters the battlefield, exile X target creatures. For each of those cards, its owner may play it for as long as it remains exiled. And whenever one or more non-token creatures enter the battlefield, if one or more of them was entered from exile or was cast from exile, draw a card. Hang on. Non-token creatures enter the battlefield if one or more of them entered from exile. So, interesting. So you can pay into X to exile creatures. Creatures exiled this way can be cast by their owner. Okay, I'm still following. And then anytime a non-token creature enters the battlefield, if it came from exile, if it was cast from exile or it entered from exile, draw a card. That includes adventures, by the way. A creature spell that is off on an adventure. Let's look at Sellsword, for example. You cast Burn Together. This is sitting in the event. This is off on an adventure. It's actually in exile. So if you cast him from exile, this would trigger the Extraordinary Journey. This would actually be so sweet in Eldraine, the blue version. So yeah, I think I am going to run that card, even if I just cast for blue, and never use the X. I think it's just so effective. Fairy Dream Thief. Again, nice little 1/1 flyer. Kobold and the Noble Thief we've seen. Agathis Champion we've seen. Picnic Ruiner we've seen. Spider Food. 3 mana, sorcery. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying and get some food. Balluna's Gatekeeper. Return a creature you don't control, mana value 3 or less to its owner's hand. For 2 mana, that's pretty cool. Entry denied. After that, it's a 6 mana, 6/5. I recently made my Jalera Master Polymorphous deck Popper. So this will actually be a good fit there because it gives me a nice cheap removal spell and a big beater to hit with. Bellowing Bruiser. Adventurous Transmuter. Maybe curse someone. Alright. Just 3 packs left. Still time for some big hits. We'll see what we get. Although we've had, like I said, the hits that I've had in here have been pretty good so far. Got a Verdant Outrider for our art card. Kenny. Damn Phyrexians, you killed Kenny, you bastards. I am not a South Park fan, by the way. But they killed Kenny, those bastards. Seriously. Okay, so I've got Kenrith coming off the list. That is a list card, so that'll go over here. Slumbering Keep Guard. We'll head up here. Garruk's Uprising. Knightly Valor we've seen before. The End. I would have loved to see this in the last pack. Cost 2 less to cast if your life total is 5 or less. Exile a creature or planeswalker. Search the controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any of those cards. So, folks, if you see Relentless Rats a lot, sideboard this card. And maybe just sneak it into one of your decks and then just hose them. If you see Relentless Rats a lot. There's Ruby. Witchstalker Frenzy. I like how this is just a nice combo trip that just shoots somebody for 5. Somebody's creature anyways. Two-Headed Hunter. Candy Trail. It's a food and a clue. Okay, one. Okay, so this is supposed to be representing like the trail, the breadcrumb trail that they leave when they go into the jungle, into the woods. Yeah. So 1 mana for a food clue artifact. Enters the battlefield, scry 2, pay 2, tap, sack, gain 3 life, and draw a card. Okay, I like that. Ginger Brute, Territorial Witchstalker. We've seen Aquatic Alchemist and a Swamp. Alright, running out of room for my wrappers here. At least we're nearing the end. Ooh, This is nice here. That is just a beast. I guess that's for the beast token. Let's put it this way. There you go. Now we're looking at it properly. Beast token. Rat token. Twisted Fealty. Yep, we've seen that before. Utopia Sprawl. Again, fun little reprint there. Yes! The Moonshaker Cavalry. This is the new white. It's been hyped up as the white version of Crater Hoof Behemoth. Whether or not it's as good as Crater Hoof Behemoth really depends on whether or not your opponents are smart enough to run flying creatures. Spoiler alert, a lot of them are not. So, definitely happy to see this. This is a huge hit for this commander player. Intrepid Truffle Snout. For those that are not sure, it's 8 mana, 6/6 flying. When this enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain flying and +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. I'll try to slot that into Abdel somehow. I'm thinking that's where I want to put it. So Intrepid Truffle Snout. Got Go Hog Wild to give a creature +2/+2, and then whenever this attacks alone, create a food token. Weird little card, that one. Boundary Lands Ranger. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature of power 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Ooh, does Gut want this? Gotta think about it. Gut might want this just because I've got my skeletons that are 4 power all the time. Monstrous Rage, I'm a huge fan of. And Breath Ventred is okay. Leaping Ambush. Besotted Knight, create a Royal Roll to a token, and then get a Hill Giant Lair. Ferocious Werefox, I'm a huge fan of. Curse of the Werefox, I'm okay with. Last pack. I don't know, so far this has been a pretty good opening, I find. I managed to get some of the big hits. Definitely got some of the cards in the Enchanted Tales series that I've wanted. Not all of them, of course, because a lot of them are mythic. But ooh, this is fancy, whatever this is. This is the art for Primal Vigor. I should have recognized it because we did pull Primal Vigor. Personally, what's one that I want from the series that I want? I would like to pull another Hardened Scales. So let's see if I get lucky on that. There's a Season of Growth foil. Okay. Leyline of Sanctity. Oh, no, not a great pull. You have Hexproof is not a bad effect, but it's not what I'm looking for. Likeness Looter. Oh, yes, this is the... So it's 1/1 fairy with flying. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Then you can pay X and turn this into a copy of a creature in your graveyard. So, I think that's a fun card. I don't know if it's powerful, but actually a 2-mana looter is pretty powerful, especially if you care about your graveyard. So, I think Likeness Looter will see some commander play. Not a ton, but some. Wildwood Mentor, whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, this gets a 1/1 counter. And then when this attacks, another attacking creature gets +X, where X is this creature's power. Okay. Big old tree folk doing big old tree folk things. Emodane's Recruiter, 5 mana for a couple of night tokens. Gallant Pie Welder, we've seen before. Stroke of Midnight, a second copy of that. That's a good hit. Hollow Scavenger, we've talked about as Commune of Nature. Feed the Cauldron. Destroy target creature of mana value 3 or less. If it's your turn, get a food. Yep, we've seen it before. Genealogist, we've seen before. And a Swamp. Alright. So like I said, on the overall, feeling pretty good about my hits. Getting a copy of Kenriff off the list makes it okay. Yeah. Am I happy with my list pulls? Not really on the overall. I mean, Kenriff is a nice little tradable. Although because he did recently get that reprint in March of the Machine, he's not really as valuable as he used to be. But definitely lots of playables from this. I'm especially happy to get the Brave Pact. The Grasp of Fate, I'm really a huge fan of. Primal Vigor's a big hit. Sanguine Bond's a good hit. Impact. Tremors. What else did I really like here? Of course, the Smothering Tithe. Nightly Valor's okay. Spreading Seas. I mean, I've got use for it. Dragon Mantle. Oversold Cemetery, I'm really happy with. The Aggravated Assault, of course. Ground Seal. Repercussion is a big one. Unnatural Growth, I didn't have a copy of. Shared Animosity, I did not have a copy of. Goblin Bombardment, I can always use another. So, really happy with these pulls. And in terms of the rares, which ones am I really happy with? Well, Moonshaker, Likeness, Sluter, I've been kind of interested in. Extraordinary Journey, I'm a huge fan of. I didn't get that one that gives a cursed roll token to all of my opponent's creatures. That one I would have loved to pull. Did not get that. Hilda, I'm going to have a closer look at this. I wonder if I can do a deck with that. The Quartz that I did pull, I'm a huge fan of. Did I pull any of the quote-unquote jumpstart cards? I'm not sure if I had or not. Not that we're specifically looking for them. But I'm wondering if I'm just wondering if I got them or not for curiosity's sake. That I like. That I love. Is that the only virtue I pulled? Because I'm a huge fan of all of the virtues, but I think that's the only one I ended up getting. There's a Quartz. Yeah, I think that's the only virtue I got was the green one. Yeah, that does appear to be the case. Anyways, I don't know who sat with me for however long it's been now, almost 2 hours. Oops. But if you have, I'm glad you stuck around. Hung out with me for a bit on this one, and I will see you all again sometime soon. Bye for now.